One pasta shape has a registered birth certificate from 1865. One is locked in solid gold inside a chamber of commerce. One was smuggled across the Alps, stuffed full of garlic. One triggered an actual police raid in 2024. And one of them is literally called the priest strangler. Pasta is not food. She is pure engineering. Stay with me. The long shapes. The ribbons and strings are where every bedtime story about pasta gets destroyed. Pasta did not come from Marco Polo. She did not come from China. She came from Arab traders. And there is a document from 1154 that proves it. His name was Al-Idrisi. He was hired by the Norman king Roger II to map the entire known world. When he got to a dusty little town in Sicily called Trabia, he wrote something that nobody has been able to argue with in almost 900 years. He described huge buildings where workers churned out massive quantities of a long-dried string-shaped pasta called Etria. Trabia shipped her in bulk across the Mediterranean, to Calabria, to Muslim kingdoms, to Christian kingdoms, entire shiploads of dried spaghetti. And Marco Polo would not even be born for another 100 years. So the whole story about noodles from China? Total myth. The Arabs brought dry pasta to Sicily. Italy just kept the name on the receipt. Now the part that melts people's brains. Spaghetti, linguine, fettuccine, tagliatelle, pappardelle. These are not random widths. Each one is a sauce delivery system engineered for a specific weight. Thin strings like spaghetti carry oil-based sauces that coat the surface. Fettuccine and tagliatelle are wider, with a rough, porous texture, because they have to carry slow-cooked meat ragu without snapping in half. Pappardelle is the widest of the ribbons, 2 to 3 centimeters across, and her name comes from the Tuscan verb papere, which literally means to gobble up. Yes, pasta is named after the sound of eating. Now buckle in, because the tagliatelle story is where Italy loses her mind completely. On April 16, 1972, the Bologna Chamber of Commerce, working with the Dotta Confraternita del Tortellino, officially registered the exact legal width of authentic tagliatelle, 7 millimeters raw, 8 millimeters cooked. They then commissioned a solid gold strand of perfect tagliatelle, sealed her in a wooden case, and locked her inside the Palazzo della Mercanzia in the center of Bologna. You can actually go visit her. You have to make an appointment. A real gold noodle, guarded like the Mona Lisa, and the people of Bologna will fight you over spaghetti bolognese. The former mayor of the city, Virginio Merola, went on Italian national radio and declared that spaghetti bolognese does not exist. Zero record of it in Italian cuisine. The dish was actually invented in 1917 by an Italian-American cookbook writer named Giulia Lovejoy Cuniberti. She published a recipe telling American housewives to put the sauce on spaghetti because tagliatelle was too fragile to ship across the Atlantic. The Italians have been mad at her ever since. The real ragu alla bolognese was officially registered on October 17, 1982. The legal recipe requires whole milk, pancetta, and tomato paste. Never spaghetti. Always tagliatelle. Order it wrong in Bologna, and your waiter will silently hate you for the rest of the meal. But tagliatelle is only one shape. The tubes have their own patent war, a literal birthday, and a smuggling operation that outsmarted an entire empire. The tube shapes. And out of every pasta shape on Earth, penne is the only one with a birthday and a patent number. The date was March 11, 1865. The place was San Martino d'Albaro, a seaside district of Genoa. A pasta maker named Giovanni Battista Capurro walked into a notary and filed a patent for a machine that nobody had built before. Before his invention, if you wanted pasta cut on the diagonal, you had to do it by hand with a pair of scissors. The scissors crushed the dough every single time. Every piece came out squashed, leaky, and uneven. Capurro engineered a machine that cut pasta cleanly on the bias without crumpling either end. He named his new shape penne because the angled tips looked exactly like the nibs of the fountain pens that every clerk in Europe was writing with at the time. That patent document is still preserved at the Central Government Archives in Rome. You can physically touch the paperwork that invented penne. But the diagonal cut was never about looks. It was physics. A flat, straight-cut tube would seal up during boiling and trap air inside. No sauce would ever reach the hollow interior. The bias cut keeps the chamber wide open, so heavy tomato sauces like arrabbiata can shoot straight through the tube and coat the interior wall. Rigatoni is the same idea scaled up: fatter diameter, deeper ridges, built for the heaviest southern meat sauces. And then there is paccheri, where things get completely insane. Paccheri is a giant tube from Campania, about 5 centimeters long. Her name comes from the Neapolitan word paccaria, which literally means slap. She is named after the actual sound she makes when you pour hot sauce onto her and she slaps against the plate. But the name is nothing compared to what she was originally used for. In the early 1600s, the Austrian Empire banned the importation of Italian garlic. They wanted to protect their own weaker local garlic farmers. Southern Italian garlic farmers were furious. Their big, pungent cloves were the best in Europe, and they had just lost their biggest export market overnight. So pasta makers in the South invented paccheri as a smuggling device. The hollow tube was engineered to fit exactly 4 cloves of Italian garlic. The tubes got packed, shipped, and smuggled across the Alps into Prussia and Austria for decades. The Austrian government never figured out how the garlic was crossing the border. Eventually, their own garlic industry collapsed. Italian pasta beat an imperial trade war using a vegetable hidden in a tube. The tubes are pure mechanical warfare, but the stuffed shapes are where things get weirdly erotic, because one of them was supposedly inspired by spying on a naked goddess. The stuffed shapes. These are the most expensive pasta shapes to make because every single one has to be folded and sealed by hand, and the origin story of the most famous one is completely unhinged. The town is Castelfranco Emilia, halfway between Bologna and Modena. Both cities have been fighting over who invented tortellini for 700 years. The legend that refuses to die goes like this. Venus, the Roman goddess of love, checked into a small inn in Castelfranco Emilia for the night. The innkeeper was so obsessed with her beauty that he crept up to her bedroom door and pressed his eye against the keyhole. The keyhole was tiny. All he could see through the gap was her bare belly button. Struck by what he had glimpsed, he sprinted back down to his kitchen, rolled out a fresh sheet of egg pasta, and folded a shape modeled after the navel of a goddess. That shape became the tortellino, and every year, the town still throws a Renaissance costume festival where drummers, flag throwers, and the entire village parade through the streets. Locals reenact the peeping Tom innkeeper on a public stage. Yes, children are in the audience. Yes, this is a real town event. The first written tortellini recipe goes back to 1570 from a chef named Bartolomeo Scappi. But the real rulebook was locked down in 1974 when the Dota Confraternita del Tortellino officially registered the one true filling at the Bologna Chamber of Commerce. The recipe is legally specific: 300 grams of pork loin, 300 grams of prosciutto crudo, 300 grams of mortadella di Bologna, 450 grams of Parmigiano Reggiano, 3 eggs, 1 pinch of nutmeg. Deviate from that ratio, and whatever you are making is not a tortellino. The registration even specifies the correct serving size. Between 5 and 8 tortellini must fit on a soup spoon at once. No more. No less. There is a confraternity of old Bolognese men who actually check this, and the science behind stuffed pasta is brutally unforgiving. The flour-to-egg ratio changes with altitude because thinner air changes how gluten develops. Humidity wrecks the seal on the fold. Too little moisture, and the dough cracks the second you try to pleat it. This is why every Italian nonna has a slightly different recipe she swears is the only correct one. And that's why she gets real furious when you make it wrong. Each family recipe was calibrated over decades to the exact kitchen the grandmother cooks in. The humidity of her stove, the altitude of her town, the thickness of her wooden rolling board. Nonnas are not gatekeeping. They are protecting a formula their grandmother taught them at age 6, standing on a wooden stool, hands covered in flour. The stuffed shapes are fragile, expensive, and emotionally dangerous. The small shapes are the opposite, and in January 2023, one of them caused a total meltdown in American grocery stores. The small shapes. These are the tiny soup pastas, smaller than 1/4 of an inch. Every single one was engineered to match a specific bowl, but the star of this story literally is pastina. The name translates to little pasta, and she comes in dozens of micro shapes. Stelline are tiny 5-pointed stars. Acini di pepe are miniature peppercorns. Ditalini are little thimbles with a hollow core. Italian grandmothers have been cooking pastina for sick children for over 100 years, and there is an actual medical reason it works. Warm, salty broth hydrates the body faster than plain water because sodium helps your cells pull the liquid in. The tiny pasta breaks down into soft, easy-to-digest carbs that feed the immune system while it fights off whatever is attacking you. Italian hospitals used to serve pastina to recovering surgery patients. Italian-American families call the dish Italian penicillin. And then, on January 3, 2023, the entire Italian-American community lost their minds at the exact same time. Ronzoni, the 108-year-old pasta brand founded in Queens by an Italian immigrant in 1915, tweeted out that they were discontinuing their iconic star-shaped pastina. The announcement hit Italian-American social media like a death in the family. A Jesuit priest named James Martin publicly protested. Bon Appetit magazine called the news 2023's first devastating food casualty. Within days, 12-ounce boxes of Ronzoni pastina that normally sold for $2 were being listed on eBay for $180 each. People filmed themselves crying in grocery store aisles, clutching the last blue box on the shelf. A Change.org petition to reverse the decision collected thousands of signatures in 48 hours. Grown adults were stockpiling pasta like toilet paper during the pandemic, and then in late 2024, something happened that nobody saw coming. Ronzoni posted a single image on Instagram, a box of pastina. The caption said, "Hello, old friend," which meant that pastina was making a comeback. New boxes hit store shelves in New York for 99 cents each. The internet went from grief to celebration in no time. The pastina panic is probably the most unhinged food morning event of the 21st century. All of it triggered by a star the size of a lentil. But the star-shaped pasta scandal is nothing compared to what happened in Bari, Italy, where actual police raided actual grandmothers. The regional oddities. Orecchiette, trofi, strozzapreti, buziate, sagne impastate. These pasta shapes do not come from factories. They come from women, hands, and muscle memory passed down through generations. And in 2024, one of them triggered a police raid so wild that the New York Times, The Guardian, and the Italian National Prosecutor all got involved. Walk into the old quarter of Bari in Puglia and find a tiny street called Strada delle Orecchiette. Elderly women sit on plastic stools outside their homes on the cobblestones. They press semolina dough into little ear shapes with the tip of a butter knife. They sell the bags to cruise ship tourists who line up around the block. The word orecchiette literally means little ears. The concave center is engineered to trap chunks of broccoli rabe and crumbles of sausage. No factory can replicate her, because the slight thumbprint dent is what makes the sauce stick. The most famous granny on the street is Nunzia Caputo. She has 60,000 followers on Instagram. Dolce & Gabbana put her in a commercial with Sylvester Stallone's daughters. In November 2024, she met Pope Francis at the Vatican and handed him a bag of her homemade orecchiette as a gift. But then something disgusting was uncovered. White boxes of factory-made commercial pasta started turning up in wheelie bins on the outskirts of Bari. Some of the grannies, overwhelmed by tourist demand, had been secretly buying mass-produced orecchiette from pasta factories. They were dumping the contents into their little brown paper bags and selling the fake stuff to tourists at premium handmade prices. The Italian press dubbed the scandal Orecchietta Gate. The Guardia di Finanza, the Carabinieri, and the Bari Municipal Police all launched a joint blitz. New rules came in fast. Every pasta granny had to attend a 4-hour hygiene training course. Wear gloves, wear a hairnet, install a proper sink with hot and cold water, get regular health inspections inside her home, and the worst part for them? No more rolling pasta outdoors on the cobblestones. The council tried to force the grannies to work inside their tiny indoor kitchens. A December 2024 council meeting descended into a full shouting match as the grandmothers refused to abandon the street they had worked on since they were 5 years old. And finally, there is strozzapreti, the darkest pasta name ever invented. She is an elongated, hand-twisted pasta from Emilia-Romagna. Her name literally means priest strangler. There are 4 competing legends for how she got that name, and all 4 are somehow worse than the last. Legend 1 says gluttonous priests used to eat this pasta so fast that they choked and died at the dinner table. Legend 2 says housewives in Romagna were forced to hand over every single egg they produced as rent to the Catholic Church. So they invented an eggless pasta and twisted each piece violently while cursing the priests and wishing they would suffocate. Legend 3 says wives fed this pasta to visiting priests as partial land rent. Their husbands sat there silently, hoping the clergy would actually choke mid-bite. Legend 4 says the pasta just resembles a clerical collar. Pick your favorite version. The name survived for 400 years, and it is still printed on pasta boxes all over Italy today. Pasta is a mechanical design wrapped in 900 years of drama, and if you want every cola flavor broken down the same way, click the video on your screen now.